Today we're going to try a wish build. This little robot. Or so it's called. Let's see what it entails. It doesn't say anything on there other than made in China. Very helpful. I believe this is the track for this thing to follow. So, let's try and figure this thing out. As you can tell, there's no instructions. Alright, what we got? We got battery holder, big screw with a nut, potentiometers, light detecting resistor, switch, microchip with a holder, two wheels, oh look at that one's broken. And magnetic. Oh, and another nut. All these magnetic components off the back of this motor. And another screw, smaller, not sure. Yeah, there's the broken part. Another motor, broken plastic. Circuit board, another light detecting resistor, a couple of red LEDs, small green one, some short pieces of red and black wire, and another small screw, couple of transistors, capacitor, and it looks like about a dozen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 resistors and variable resistances. I'm going to say the instructions are right here on the circuit board. Sorry about the sniffling. It's ragweed season. The part numbers are actually labeled. It says that 100 microfarad capacitor, LED green, LED, I'm assuming this would be red. Nope, this actually says green too. I only see one green in here. Huh. Alright, you got your transistors, which go there. You got the computer chip here. Switch goes there, but if you can kind of look at that, you can see out the light glare, it's all labeled. And on this side, it says red LEDs. So apparently there was supposed to be two greens, and I don't see it. But there's the back side, or actually, I guess that would be up and down. So. Alright, let's start assembling this bad boy and see if it works. Or if it falls apart since, you know, broken. Alright, got solder ready to go. This actually shows two capacitors. Both 100 microfarad. Let's make sure I actually sent the right ones. Yep, that's 100. And that's 100. If you buy the kit, the section that's got the hash lines through it, that's the negative side. So on your capacitor, on this one, the shorter of the two leads is the negative. So we're going to pop them little guys in there. And start the process. Might be a slightly longer video, since apparently the pads just don't want to absorb the heat. I might have to put some flux on these. My soldering iron's up to temperature. There we go. So, there's the two capacitors. We're gonna what's next? Let's make sure both transistors are the same. I'm sure they are, but I'm going to use a magnifying glass to try and read them. That one says 8550. That one also says 8550, so they are the same. So we're going to put the transistors in next. Spread the pins apart a little bit so they fit in the holes. Oh, that was too far. The transistors are shaped like the letter D, capital letter. And the marking on the board is also the same shape. But I am going to add a little flux paste. Only since the capacitors took so long to heat up, I'm going to promote adhesion. That's a lot better. And I am going back and forth between the different components. That's so I don't superheat the component instantly by doing all three pins. By going back and forth between them, it allows the component to cool down a little. Alright, there's the two transistors. Your IC holder, if you look, you'll see there's a little notch or a little indentation. This has the same indentation. You just line it up and stick it through. You'll have to straighten the pins out, probably like I just did, to make it line up. What I'm doing here is I'm using the tape to help push it up. Since apparently it came with double back tape, which I'm assuming is to help hold the motors in place. Not all projects require flux paste, but it does make it go faster in some instances. Now this isn't a component, this is just a holder. You can just go straight up and down to pegs, but I still practice the same process where I go back and forth to reduce heat on one side. There's the IC holder, and it's flush. You know, some people are anal about being flush or not. It's up to you. I prefer my stuff to be as flush as possible. Transistors are a little harder though, because they spread the pins out. I try to keep everything as nice and tight to the circuit board as possible. What else we got on here? Alright, here we have the two 10 kilo ohm potentiometers, and you can see there's 3 pins, 3 holes. This one's kind of hard to screw up, but and these do not sit flush. They are offset pins that are bent into like an L pattern. Prevents you from pushing them flush to the circuit board. You can bend them if you like and make them fit flush. I don't see a reason to. Just gonna build the kit like they sold it. Beautiful. We will be snipping off the extra long leads here towards the end. Here's your switch. You got 3 pins in the middle and then 2 casing ground pins. Here's your switch. To indicate which way the switch goes, there's a little notch in the white paint to tell you the switch should point backwards off of the back of the robot. Technically, it's a switch, it doesn't matter. Again, they probably do it for spacing and so it's a little cleaner. That way the switch isn't pointing inwards. We're just going to do it, like I said, the way that they're asking, or the way they designed it, for now. It may be a hackable unit down the road, but for now we're just going to do it like so. The pins on this are much closer together, so you might need a fine tip on your soldering iron and use fine solder, since solder and solder tips come in multiple sizes. First thing to do is just get one of the casing grounds on. That way it holds. Doing the center pin, then the outer casing ground, the other side, and then I'm going to go to the far side pin and then the close side pin. And we're just going to inspect the solder joints to make sure that they're not touching. and that they're good. Which, this one's not quite that good. Some of you out there may know, your eyes get worse as you get older. Alright, I think we're good. Yep. They're not just helping hands, they're helping glasses. Allergies. Alright. Put the chip in last. You see where all the resistors go. You need to figure out looks like these guys go on the bottom. Yep. Problem is I have no idea how far down they're supposed to go. I'm sure these guys right here are what reads the track, since this is supposed to be a track following robot. Or at least that's what they say it does. Sure, these guys go like you. Yeah. So that's probably what the double back tape is for, is to hold the axles on. Alright, I'll do these guys last. See if I can find a picture of it. So I know how low they're supposed to be, since, again, no instructions. Now we'll figure out the resistors. The resistors are labeled. It says 1K, 1K, 3.3K, 3.3K. Looks like 47s. So, they're all color coded. They all have color bands. I'm going to break them up per their color band, since there's a lot of duplicates. Alright. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, there's the other guy. Alright, so there's your 8 resistors, or your 4 sets of 2. Excuse me, 10 resistors. Whew, math. So, we have, looks like 10 ohms, 47 ohm, 47 ohm, 3.3, and 1Ks. At least I hope those are 47s. Because the way I'm reading this is there should be 4, and I only see 2. So yeah. Oh, no, there they are. There's 4. Again, bad eyes. So. And if you know your resistor color code, you can read the colors and determine what they are. Or if you have a multimeter, set it to ohms. .898. So, see, those are your 47s. They're within tolerance. Well, at least the one is. This one here is your 1K ohm, which are the 2 right here. you notice, I'm not touching the other side, because you can, by touching the other side, you can throw the resistance off. That's 10 ohms, which are these two in the middle, which means these should be the 3.3K. And it's 3.23. So there's a lot of acronyms out there to learn the color code. I still like to double check them just to make sure. My eyes are not as good as they used to be, and I have a hard time sometimes determining the lighter colors against the back sheathing, especially the tans and browns, because they blend in. A lot of people have issues with the blues, so the blue colored resistors. Kind of fold them over and stick them through. Alright, so there's the resistors, with those to start. Now we're going to quickly solder them in. Making sure they're still flush, I just soldered one side of each of the resistors. Just like that. And I'm going to start trimming these now. If you're using flush cutters, it's generally a good idea to put your finger over them so when you trim these things they don't go shooting across the room or potentially shoot you in the eye. There's the first set. These are the 3.3s, 3.3K or 3,300 ohms, and those go directly above the two transistors. Like so. So now see, that one moved. So what I'm going to do is heat the solder back up, push it flush, let it cool, And now do the other side. Just like that. There we go. So next we have, it's either going to be the 10 or the 1K, and we're going to stick those in. So these are the 10s. Alright, so those are in. Last but not least are the 1000 ohm resistors. Those go right above the 3.3s. Alright. Well, if you couldn't tell, the battery holder goes here. You can see they have a nice big hole. Probably, no, apparently not. Not sure exactly how it's supposed to stay, but we'll figure that one out. Next are the two reds, which go on the outer corners, I would assume. Or not. Problem is that it says it on both sides. Corners, I think there's a an LED missing from this package, which wouldn't surprise me. I find when you buy kits, sometimes they're not all inclusive. But if you have parts lying around, spare parts, you can usually make it work. Technically, it looks like it's only missing an LED. So, It shows 2 reds here, and then it looks like it says green up on the tops. Fortunately, they punched a hole through, which makes it a little bit harder to see. And I bet you this screw goes right here, and that's the front walker. Which means that there's no real way technically to attach this battery pack, as there's no screws, but yet there's 2 screw holes. But there's also solder pads on the back. So I'm going to take a brief intermission here to check the distance on these and to see if it is supposed to have 2 greens. If it is, I'll pull a set of greens out of my LED stash. There is no instructions I could find online, just a picture. So I'm going to go and look for a picture real quick just to verify how many LEDs and the position of the light detecting resistors are supposed to be off of the paper. I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, we're back. Of course, the picture from the interweb shows a different version of this. So, we're going to do a lot of trial and error, apparently. Yes, it's supposed to have 2 green LEDs. And so I went ahead and went into my stash and got a matching set of green LEDs, because the color green that came with it does not match any of the color greens I currently have. So I just got 2 matching greens. It doesn't really matter, but try and make it look somewhat pretty. So we're going to stick the red ones in. Before I do that though, just to, again, to make things better, I put a little flux paste, and might as well, on all the pads. And all the pictures I can find, it shows the red LEDs pointing straight up and the resistors pointing straight down, the light detecting ones. Does not show in any of the pictures how far up or down they are, so like I said, it's going to be trial and error. Try and bring it in frame for you. Probably changed the position of the camera a little bit while I was screwing around trying to find a picture. And apparently my soldering tip is coming loose. If you've been soldering, I would not recommend touching that nut with your fingers, as mine is over 400 degrees centigrade. So that would make for a really bad day. Alright, so the reds are in. Now we're going to do the greens. I don't know why the greens are so small compared to the reds. They're using 3mm versus 5, but since that's what they provided, that's what I matched them up with. Normally when you solder, you definitely don't want to breathe the fumes, especially if you're using lead solder like I do. I normally have a fan going, but unfortunately a fan really screws up the microphone on the camera. So just exhale while you're doing it to blow the fumes away from you. Technically there's probably not enough lead in the fumes to hurt you, but let's not chance it. Because if you know anything about Murphy, what can go wrong will go wrong. And I'm going to set these about 3/4 of the way in. So they're hanging down about 1/2 inch. That'll allow me a little bit of adjustment room and flexing, so I can flex the wires in case they're not pointing in the right direction, to try and read the dark line on the paper. So there's that one. I know I have helping hands to help hold this stuff, but I just use what I can when it's available. Alright. Now I'm not going to cut these flush right now. I'm just going to cut off a lot of the extras so I don't bump them and short them out when we actually give this power. That way if I have to raise them or lower them, I have some adjustment room. The tape goes on the side of the motor and the back of the battery pack. Apparently this model is taped, not screwed in. So this goes on here, and these wires are fed through where it says, or this hole right here, or excuse me, this hole right here, and goes to these two pads. So I'm going to tin these wires and get the pads ready. There's a square and a round pad on the back. The square pad has a positive next to it. The round pad has nothing, which from little standard deducing we can figure out that it's probably negative. Go ahead and stick the battery pack on. Just like so. go on sideways like so. You want to make sure the two pins are sticking out. These two pins, that's what these 4 wires are for, is to run them to these 4 pads. The motors do not appear to be polarized. I'll check this one since the cap's already off. There is no negative and or positive symbol. Nope. I would recommend hooking them up the same. So when you solder them, you put the negatives to one pad, the positives to the other. That way, hopefully each wheel spins in the same direction. Or your robot's just going to go in circles. Just tinning the contacts, or trying to. So. There we go. Tinning up the wires. Since that one's broke, we're just going to pop that one off. That's the one motor. That's the other motor. Here's your wheels. So since the motor is going on this way, that means this wheel would be this way. The wheels actually have an oval fitting that are supposed to apparently fit this axle. Nice tight fit. There we go. That one popped on. this one don't want to go on. And it's because there's a piece of casting in here. So some piece of plastic stuck down in here that's not permitting the axle to snap in. Probably a casting defect. This wheel apparently does not want to go on. There we go. Now it's on. So, just an overmold issue. Yeah, screw this wheel in. So. We're almost done. Solder in the motor, stick on the bolt. This is how the bolt goes in. This is really easy. You stick the bolt through from the top, or the screw. Spin down the nut. Snug it up with your fingers. And this is your adjustment for the nose height. And it just glides on the acorn nut. So, alright, we're almost done. And we'll see if this cheap Chinese line chasing robot works. Alright. Putting some fresh solder onto the solder pads. Like so. And since I cannot find instructions at all, I'm going to solder the negatives on the inside, just in case they touch the casing of the motor, and the positives on the outside. the areas for the tape. And try and tape the axles on as square as possible. That's one. That's two. So there it is. And then here's the IC chip, which has got a pin or two. Straighten them out. Front of the chip has a little indentation right there. It might be hard to see in the camera, but that indentation goes forward to match the same indentation in this chip holder that we stuck on, geez, 20-30 minutes ago. Time flies when you're having fun. Or when you're just bored and got nothing to do. Or when you're talking to yourself in front of a camera. Alrighty. Don't have any spare parts left over. Positive sign number one. I guess I need to step out for a moment and grab 2 AA batteries, since I ain't got none lying around. Alright, got some AA's, got one in already. I guess it works somewhat. Yeah, maybe I got the one wheel backwards. Yep. Alright, so apparently I need to switch the wires real quick, since one motor is spinning forward and one motor is spinning backwards, and since that one's got the broken clip, this should be the easiest one to do. I'm trying to do it on screen, but I can't see. All right, take two. Of course, it's picking up my other stuff here. Alright, reposition the LDRs. Make sure the wires aren't interrupting the light. Okay, both wheels are going the same direction. And off the bench. Alright, well, I think it's going backwards, so that's not a positive. It's fun when we make mistakes together, so we're going to quickly swap the wires on both motors. this is where a finer point soldering gun comes in handy to get in here. This does have changeable tips. I just wouldn't recommend doing it right after use since it's really hot. Alright, take 3. Alright. I have to say these motors are very magnetic. I think because this paper is folded up, let's get these clippings out of here. That's why I'm having such a problem, is because it's following the creases in the paper. Let's see what I got in my desk of wonders here. This green pad's probably so damn dirty the tape's not going to stick. But try and pull this thing taut and see if it works any better. Now you can see how it's supposed to function, but if I cover this, see how wheel turns? So, it's supposed to be picking up the light reflection off the paper, and then when it loses, that's what the greens are for. So, green out, green on. Out, on. Reds just indicate both sides are powered. Technically it functions, just not very well. So I think we're going to adjust the light detecting resistors, and I'm going to try and pull them down, maybe get them closer to the paper. Try not to get my fat head in the picture here. What I did is I quickly got both leads hot to pull the solder out. And I didn't mean to pull it completely out, I was trying to just pull it down. Everybody screws up, or there are no mistakes, just happy accidents, as a very famous painter once said. Alright, let's see if I can do this one without pulling it all the way out so fast. And without burning myself, that'd be great too. Nope. Alright, pair of pliers. Let's try it again. Almost. So yeah, it has to be closer to the paper. And I think you need to have good light. Apparently my phone is scaring him away now. Alright, well, I don't know if it's a success or a failure. It sort of works. Probably what you get for spending a couple of dollars on Wish. But I think it's the light. It needs a lot of light to detect that black line. And there's just not a lot of light in here for what this thing requires until I turn it over. So, it shows you can make your own tracks using a big fat Sharpie and some paper on some of the other Chinese websites. I am losing this motor. It keeps sliding forward. I had to push it in a couple times while picking it up because it disengages from the drive. So if I decide to keep using this or playing with it, I'm going to have to probably hot glue this motor in so it doesn't keep disconnecting itself from the drive gear. Yeah. So, there it is, completed. One broken part, one missing part. Functions partially. I'm sure these adjust your speed. But we're going to find out because, you know, I don't know. So, nope, that adjusts your sensitivity. Okay, all the way that way is just on. Well, you get the gist. It sort of works. The LDRs do their job. It looks for the line. Not the greatest, but as you saw, it partially worked with the cell phone, lighting it up. So, is it worth your money? Maybe if you just want to screw around with it, if it's something you're actually going to try and use for something more fun, or an invisible railway type setup, maybe for a miniature village or what have you, probably not the best. They have more expensive versions. This was like $5 with shipping. It was $6, I believe it said. So it's a $5 or $6 kit. Other than the one missing LED, which isn't a big deal for me since I do have thousands upon thousands of LEDs. Just the broken motor clasp. And it's not the greatest reader, because what happens is when it hits these seams in the paper where the lines are lighter, as you saw, it would start to jump. If the paper was laminated or thicker and it wouldn't come off, it'd probably work better. All in all, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you just want to spend a few bucks on some fun little toy that you might be able to hack, maybe put in some bigger motors, make it go faster, or make it like an old donkey with carrot, where you hang a white light and as you turn the white light it follows, since that's how these work. It might be worth it. Other than that, this is the Wish Line Robot Follower build. So I think that was a translation. It's a line following robot. I don't remember. But again, on Wish they have similar to this, and they have more expensive versions that have 4 wheels and don't use a acorn nut to follow the line. It actually has 4 wheels and actually turns like a car does, or a tank, because they have a tracked version. So I just want a cheap one to test it out, and I tested it out, and we'll move on to something better in the future.